Welcome to Talk on the Block for August 5th, 2025. If you're having lunch at this time and tuning in, welcome. You made the right choice. Enjoy your meal, okay? Talk on the Block is sponsored by the great folks at ESA Trading Limited and at New India Assurance. We appreciate you guys and good afternoon to all the lovely staff over there at ESA Trading Limited and at New India Assurance. Good afternoon to Mr. Peltier. I know that you're tuning in. This time, we will be introducing our guest. But let's take a quick break, get some words from our sponsor for today's program. ESA Trading Limited and New India Assurance will be back after this.
Going green isn't always easy, especially when options are limited. But at ESA Trading Limited, we're changing that just for you. We're proud to offer sustainable solutions that help you make a real impact, one small step at a time. Say goodbye to styrofoam and hello to our compostable clamshells, trays, and baggers products, the perfect eco-friendly upgrade for your takeout packaging. Because great food deserves a great container, and ours are sturdy, stylish, and earth-friendly. We've got it all. Clamshell bowls and lids, cake plates, cups, round containers, forks, spoons, even free compartment meal boxes, all made from renewable materials like wheat straw, sugarcane baggers, and PLA. Our compostable containers break down in commercial composting facilities, helping reduce waste while keeping your food fresh and your conscience clear. Join the movement. Make the switch. Visit us today at Kennedy Avenue and the Bayfront for all your biodegradable packaging needs. At ESA Trading Limited, we're making a difference for you and the planet.
The New India Insurance Company has reopened its doors in Portsmouth, offering the same great services you get in Roseau. Motor vehicle insurance, home and business owners, fire and related perils, public liability, and so much more. Come, visit us today for insurance with a personal touch on Bay Street, Portsmouth, or call us at 445-4023. We are ready to serve you.
Dominica, we're back. And on the line with me is highly acclaimed economist, former IMF economist, Dr. Thompson Fonte. Today we are speaking on establishing a profitable water sector in Dominica. By way of introductory remarks, let me just advise or allow Dr. Fontaine to give your opening remarks. Welcome to Talk on the Block.
Richie, a very good afternoon to you. And thank you very much for having me on Talk on the Block this afternoon. And to your many, many listeners scattered across the globe, I just want to say a very special good afternoon. And you know, the topic could not be more relevant and timely. As we discuss Dominica Water Resources, as you know, Dominica has 365 rivers. And just to let you know that that is not myth, that is in fact the case. A few years ago, I had the privilege of meeting the scientists who in 1964 came to Dominica and did the survey. And he told me that he personally counted the rivers, and based on the scientific definition of a river, that was the amount that he came up with as a team from the Smithsonian Institute in Washington, D.C. So we can confirm that we have 365 rivers in Dominica, and that means on a daily basis, billions of gallons of water being lost to the sea. And we have this huge resource in Dominica, and unfortunately, we have not made very good use of it. And our water is basically like our oil.
Correct.
It may not be as profitable because although water is important, is critical for life, you cannot really put a price on water. You can put a price on oil, but you can't really put a price on water. And that's the reason why water sells very, very cheaply, although everybody needs it, but you cannot deny people water, so to speak. But there are enough people around the globe that are willing to pay for water from Dominica. And we must find a way to be able to harness that particular resource. So we have, as part of our 10-pillar plan, we understand the importance of water. We understand the role that water can play as part of a broader economic plan to grow and develop Dominica's economy. But at the very center of that is our water resources, and so I'm very excited that we can discuss it, what the plans are, the options, and so on. Because I believe that's very important that we pay very close attention to that great resource.
Fantastic. I mean, Doc, we're happy that you are here, that you can take the time from your busy schedule to engage on this very important topic. Let me just read to you something that happened very recently. Basically, it's a press statement from Josephine and Gabriel and Company, Josephine Gabriel and Company Limited, addressed to our Minister of Foreign Affairs, the Honorable Dr. Vince Henderson. It reads as follows: Josephine Gabriel and Company is expressing shock, Dr. Fontaine, and disbelief that Foreign Affairs Minister Dr. Vince Henderson is calling on the Bureau of Standards to investigate them, claiming the bottle covers of Tuapita water are not safe. In a press release dated today, August 5th, 2025, Josephine Gabriel and Company Limited states as follows: during his recent contribution to the national budget debate in Parliament, Minister of Foreign Affairs Dr. Vince Henderson called on the Bureau of Standards to investigate Josephine Gabriel and Company Limited because the covers of their bottles of Tuapita water, open quote, are not safe, end quote. This vicious attack, says the company, under the cover of parliamentary privilege, which protects members of parliament from lawsuits, as you know, for their utterances in parliament, were made against a company which since 1959 has been a model corporate citizen. The company has made numerous contributions to local sports, civic organizations, cultural events, a marine reserve, and has even adopted 2 schools in the Roseau Valley. There is speculation that Henderson's comments were prompted by the government's announcement that they are courting foreign investors to invest in Dominica's water industry. Of course, this statement, later this week, I will have someone speak on that specifically, but quickly, your views on that.
Yeah, I have a difficulty with the statement by the Minister Henderson, and that does not speak to whether or not that is true or factual. But you would think that if he figured that there is a problem, he could have approached them directly and have them fix it, because I think that there is an important fix, an easy fix that you can do for bottled water. You will find that most bottled waters, they have a little plastic encasing over the bottle top
Correct.
to keep it to ensure that it's not tamper proof. If that's what it takes, that is something that could be done very, very easily to communicate, but not to put it out there publicly and so fear, because when you say it's not safe, there is an implication that it could be.
You tend to think of the worst, Doc.
Yes, exactly. I mean, now, even with what I know, I would have pause now when I touch a Trapito bottle of water,
That's not good.
and I just felt like that could have been handled very,
It
very
could be, yeah,
differently.
yeah.
And because it's a reputation of the company. A company that, as they rightly said, that has been in operation for many, many years. They've
I mean,
got
it's
Coca-Cola,
there.
they've got all the subjects.
Josephine and Company, Josephine Gabriel and Company is at the heart of the country. I don't think that there's a value you can put as to the level of investment
Absolutely.
at the
For
management
many
team.
years, over many
Yeah,
years, and they've been
that they've
involved in
done
the
for
bottled,
Dominica. I mean,
and they've been involved in the bottled industry as well. Bottling of soft drinks and so on for many, many, many years and decades. So I think that's very unfortunate, but also it shows as well. I think a lack of respect for local entrepreneurs, a lack of respect for our local private sector. Even the government, for example, announcing that they're looking for foreign investors to invest in the bottled water industry in Dominica. Why not tap local investors to do that? It's a potentially very lucrative business, and why not tap into the local industry, or local individuals locally to do it? Why go to the foreign? So it seems to me that this government has not found a way to encourage and grow the private sector. And that is another symptom of that, just what we see from the minister.
Doc, in the interest of time, let's begin. Given Dominica's rich freshwater resources, what do you think successive governments have failed to capitalize on water as sort of a strategic economic asset? And how would a United Workers' Party led administration change that?
That's a very good question. I believe that over the years there have always been talk about the water resources. I believe under the Dominica Freedom Party government, I believe that the government had started to explore those possibilities, and in fact, if my memory serves me right, some work was done in laying some pipes at the I think in Newtown, that could be loaded onto barges, and so there was work done. I'm not sure what happened to that. Also under the United Workers' Party, there was discussion around that, but of course, in the short space of time that the party had, they were not able to develop it. And even the Labour Party has been talking about it. So there has been a realization that this industry can benefit Dominica, that this resource that we have is not yet an industry, it's just a resource, that this resource can benefit Dominica. And success, as you rightly said, successive governments have not tapped into it. I believe where the United Workers' Party is approaching this differently is that we see this water resource as part of a broader strategy to grow the economy. So it's not just the water by and of itself, but it is water combined with manufacturing, combined with increases in agriculture, combined with tourism, combined with essential industries. So it's a mixed bag that we are, if you like, that we are promoting, that will be able to grow Dominica's economy. And when we talk about water resources, we are thinking not only of bottled water industry, because you can have a bottled water industry, you can have a gourmet type industry. For example, if you use underground water, spring water, that can be packaged separately or differently. You can also do as is being done by Trapito, where the water is treated and bottled, and then you can also have bulk exportation of water. You may recall, Richie, a few months ago, the Prime Minister of Antigua, Gaston Brown, indicated that he was going to be approaching Trinidad. He was going to get some water from Trinidad because you know that Antigua has a long-running water problem. They don't have the rivers that we have. They don't have the amount of rain that we have, and they have serious problems with water. And I believe the same applies for countries up further north. If you're talking about St. Martin, Saba, Anguilla, Tortola, all of those countries have water issues. And so I believe that a bulk water exportation where it is worked in such a way that you load this water onto tankers or barges, and they are taken up north and they're offloaded on some kind of system that is there in those countries, and then it can be sold that way. I know, for example, that Afimate and company, he had started looking at this. I'm not sure where this particular business idea has gone, but that was what they were thinking about, I believe, to have this bulk water exportation. And I believe the license was given by the government or to allow them to extract water from the rivers. But I'm not sure what happened. It has not come up as yet. But people have been thinking about it. But I believe that a United Workers' Party Team Dominica government will not only think about it, but will actually do it, because we believe, as I've said over and over again, that water, that critical resource that we have, is needed by countries in the region, and it is needed by people across the world. And we are in a unique position to meet that demand for water.
Dr. Fontaine, let's talk economic potential. Can you elaborate on the economic potential of Dominica's water sector, particularly as it relates to export, bottling, and even hydro energy? We see that a bit underutilized currently in Dominica, and how this aligns with your vision for sustainable economic growth.
All right, so let's talk firstly about the export potential of water. When I think of the export potential of water, I think of a country in the Pacific called Fiji. Most Dominicans would have heard about Fiji, and I'm sure many Dominicans would have heard about Fiji water. Fiji water is known around the globe, and Fiji has a very similar geography to Dominica in terms of the volcanic nature. And what they boast of their water, they claim that their water falls from the sky, it drips through the volcanic ground, and then it is stored on the ground, and that is what they extract, and they're selling at a very, very high price. The Fiji water is probably the most expensive water in the world. They have a very similar geography to Dominica, but for many, many years now, they have capitalized on that unique volcanic island having that water resource and making it available to the world. So that is something that we can pattern on. Okay, I believe that with proper marketing, with proper investments, we can pattern Dominica water on Fiji water. I believe it will have that same cachet, especially given the fact that Dominica is a nature island of the world. We have 365 rivers. Basically, you have more rivers than you have square miles in Dominica. That's a lot of selling points that one can use. So the potential is there to be able to have the private sector invest in the water industry and be able to export Dominica water, bottled water, across the globe. That is one. Then we have the whole issue of the hydropower. One of the things, and that is something, of course, that will have to be refined by the experts, but I have heard in the past of the possibility of having even mini hydro power stations. So, for example, instead of having villages, say in the southeast, depend on hydro or power generated from Loda, you could have a mini hydro plant in the southeast that utilizes this river water that we have in abundance in that area, that would then be able to provide electricity for just this area. And it has a lot of pluses for that, in the sense that if there's a hurricane, for example, you can quicker restore the water. So that is one of the areas I would really like us to be focused on, how we can utilize our water resource to generate hydropower, and to be able to take care of the energy needs of the country, in addition to all the other renewable energies. But hydro must play a better and a bigger part and a bigger role, given the ready availability of water. So in terms of the potential, in terms of the ability to generate wealth for Dominica, I believe our water resource is absolutely well placed. What it calls for is a commitment, a government that is committed to seeing it happen, a government that cares about job creation and will be able to generate a great quantity of jobs, using or focusing on the bottled water aspect, on the bulk water aspect, and of course the use of the hydro in Dominica.
Thank you, Doc. What specific policy or investment frameworks would the United Workers' Party prioritize, basically to transform Dominica's water sector into a profitable industry or a job generating industry?
Okay, so what you want to do firstly is that you want to encourage private sector investment in that area. So the first thing to do is for government to allow any firm, private sector firm coming into that space, to be given some types of incentives. And that could be in the form of tax holidays, so that they don't have to pay any taxes for, say, the first 10 years of operation, especially if they're able to employ a certain number of persons, let's say 50 or 100 persons. You could say, well,
Yeah.
that firm will be exempt from the payment of company taxes for 10 years. Also, the fact that the implements, the bottles, for example, are not manufactured in Dominica. They would have to be imported. Some of the raw material that is being used could be given some exemptions for probably a year or two, that would allow that firm to be able to establish itself. So we're talking about tax incentives to encourage the investment, and and then probably even using our aid bank, where you could get a loan facility that could be at a reasonable rate, or at a better rate than the commercial rates. Or I believe that the water is profitable enough that that company could have access to commercial lending or commercial bank lending. But whatever it is, facilitate that process that would allow that investment by this company. So that would be the number one. That would be the starting point, all right, in terms of encouraging the businesses to invest. That is one. The second is to engage the regional governments. Okay, so in the Workers' Party, Team Dominica, immediately upon assuming office, will engage in negotiations to the governments about selling water to those countries. I talked about the need in Antigua and in St. Martin and in Saba. Some of these countries are actually going for a very costly process of converting seawater into clean water for those desalination points. That's a very costly process. And at the end of the day, what you get is still not a pure water. All right. So negotiating with regional countries with a view to getting Dominica water there. As I said, that would involve the setting up of infrastructure in those islands, possibly a receiving station or some setup in the ports there, or in those islands, from which the water can then be downloaded, similar to what obtains with the gasoline import. That is something that's already been done through gasoline. We can just piggyback on the methods that are used. The same type tankers, instead of oil tankers, you now have water tankers. So the same kind of infrastructure and facility can be set up, and that can be done through negotiation. So, in other words, what I'm trying to explain to you and to the Dominican public is that we will not wait for that to develop, but we will actively, progressively go after it, understanding the tremendous potential that water holds. And if you think about it, I mean, and bulk water, of course, I'm sure you can sell at a price that is attractive, in terms of dollars per gallon, and be able to make a significant amount of money from it. Because at the end of the day, that resource for which we are so well blessed and endowed is been wasted. But we can put policy in place to ensure that we get a maximum amount out of this.
Fantastic, Doc. As we move on, I can already see a clear path as it relates to really delving into that industry and bringing jobs and income into the country. But let's move forward. How do you envision public-private partnership (PPPs) playing a role in modernizing and monetizing Dominica's water sector without, too much compromisation of the environment?
Yes, okay. So I think the public-private partnership, where government literally partners with government literally partners with companies or private sector firm to engage in some venture. That can work with regards in particular to the bulk water exportation. I can see a public-private partnership where the resource, obviously, the rivers and so on, that resource belongs to the government and people of Dominica. So there would have to be some deal that can be worked out between whatever company that will engage in the actual transportation of this water to the neighboring countries. So that is where I would go for the public-private partnership. For the bottled water aspect, I believe that can be done wholly by a private sector firm. There does not need to be government participation, but certainly with regards to the bulk water exportation, the public-private partnership would probably be the way to go, at least in the initial stages, until that is well set up. But what I really is conceiving or thinking about is a process where, on an almost daily basis, we have the exportation of water. Okay, that water will be leaving from Dominica, going to those islands, and that will be providing a tremendous service to those countries. And given the quality of our water, the water that can be used and with some treatment can be even used for drinking. So I believe that is something that should be pursued, and that is a commitment that we are giving to the people of Dominica, that the United Workers' Party Team Dominica government will focus its attention on that area, public-private partnership in particular with the bulk water exportation.
Fantastic. Given the global demand for clean water and Dominica's ecological profile, how can the water sector be leveraged, to position Dominica as a global leader or regional leader in climate resilient water-based industries?
Yeah, that is an excellent question. And again, that is where Dominica can stand out, because as I said, we have more rivers than we have square miles in Dominica. So that can be leveraged. Just the abundance of that water, the purity of the water, and the fact that we have those underground water sources,
Yeah.
the spring, this spring water, the source water as we call it, the fact that we have that type of resource can be leveraged on the international scene. And Dominica can in fact be one of the countries that stands out and leads the way in that area, because no other country on that side of the world have the abundance of water that Dominica possesses. So that provides an opportunity for us as a small island developing nation to be able to promote that water, to promote the cleanliness of water, and at the same time to have our country reflect that. So we're talking about a nature island, you're talking about pure water, good, natural, healthy environments, and so on. And so on. And that in itself, if we begin to promote that, will force us to take care of our environment, take care of our garbage, ensure that we have good disposal, garbage disposal, ensure that the forests are preserved, so that the water tables are preserved, and so on. All of that, I believe Dominica can be a leader in, and I would really like to see the day when we actually begin that discussion and lead the way forward in that, with that discussion. Water being one of the main, obviously, without water, there is no life, and
Correct.
given the
Correct.
fact that we have it in such abundance, that can be a huge selling point for Dominica.
Doc, this just off the cuff. I've spoken to a good friend of ours, Mr. Rafael, a respected man in Dominican society, who is also somewhat of an environmentalist, very compassionate regarding the preservation of the environment. And I've also spoken to environmentalists by profession, who share the view that the forestry division for the past decade or so has not been empowered enough, specific to managing our water tables and the replanting, assisting in the replanting of trees in strategic areas on the island to preserve those water tables, as well as sort of manning the rivers, as it were, to prevent over dredging, things of that sort. People coming in, taking stones, and we have a lot of quarries on the island these days, a lot of quarries, and so we get the sense that the rivers are not being properly taken care of, and the water table appears to be shrinking, and it's caused by these man-made elements, lack of oversight. Do you share that view? Have you noticed that? Uh, pointing in a pointing case, case in point, sorry, is the Roseau River. You see, the mouth of the river is almost dry. And this is the Roseau River. It's one of the largest rivers on the island. Your views on that?
Well, it's interesting that you raised that, because I have, just through casual observation, I've not done any profound or rigorous survey, but just through casual observation, I have noticed the water levels, river water levels, subsiding in some areas, which tells me that should be a wake up call for the authorities here. We do have a forestry division that should be focused very heavily on that. And if the results, or if now the people are saying that there is a problem as far as the potential lowering of the water table, and that means that calls for urgent attention and action. And what needs to be done, obviously, as you said, they need to plant trees. Obviously, every time there is a major hurricane like we had in 2017, Maria, then you would have to go through a process of ensuring that the stock of trees are replenished. That is done. That our rivers themselves are protected, as you talked about the dredging and so on, and changing the natural orientation or shape of rivers that could have some implications. So what I would really like to see is a very good policy on water management in Dominica. I don't think we have that. I believe we have pieces of legislation that will allow, for example, the forestry to do certain things and to take certain actions. But what is required, I believe, is some very good policy that can guide that will guide the water usage, its extraction, its utilization, all of those things, because one of the things that you also do not want to do is to take what you have for granted. Okay. You don't want to wake up one morning and realize, boy, our rivers are short, or something has gone wrong, and so on. There is some contamination or whatever it is. You want to be assured that that happens. And then the other thing I believe, and is, although we've not talked about it as yet, but I believe that's very important. And one of the issues that Dominicans have always been talking about is the fact that they're paying so much for water, even that there is that abundance of water. And we've had government impose some arbitrary tariffs and so on water. And the question is why? Why is it that with such an abundance of water in Dominica, that people are paying so much? So that could be all be part of that broader water management policy. And also, I will just add that when we get to the point where we are exporting water, bulk water and bottled water, when we get to that point, that might be one way of subsidizing domestic production. So you can impose a levy, for example, on the sellers, on the producers of bottled water, because they're using the resource. It's literally free, but they're using it. You could impose some kind of especially if those companies are profitable, you can probably impose some kind of levy that would then ease the payments by household, because we have situations where even some of our households are not able to meet that water bill on a monthly basis. So the question of being able to get some kind of subsidy is possible if it is done through that means.
Thank you for that response. In relation to the policy, and I would agree with you on that. I do know that we have a policy in place. I'm not sure how I would say comprehensive it
Comprehensive, right?
is. Yeah, because I remember doing an investigation for a firm recently, well, some years ago, and I spoke to the general manager, Mr. Etinoff, on that in relation to policy framework, the use of water in Dominica, and all of that. We do have a Water and Sewage Act. However, I don't think it's as comprehensive as some of the things that you are outlining. So that may need to be reviewed in the future to kind of really guide companies in the use of water.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I agree. I agree. And it's possible that this act, I have in fact seen a copy of the Water and Sewage Act, and it does have some good measures, but I
Yeah.
believe a more robust policy must be set out and guidelines must be given, because that is something that we absolutely have to preserve. And we have to ensure that even when it is exploited, that it is done in a manner that is renewable, that we don't lose it, ultimately lose out. It has to be done in a very good and structured way. And that will call for some very good and dedicated legislation to allow that.
Dr. Fontaine, you've been fantastic. In relation to this, again, I'm getting a lot of messages following your contribution this afternoon. We can really see a clear path as it relates to tapping into this sector and getting some serious revenue from the water sector. But let me just bring up to your attention some concerns by some persons as it relates to safety. Generally, the water in Dominica is considered second to none. You having traveled and worked with so many organizations, government, non-governmental, what's your comparison in terms of the quality of water we have as compared to, let's say, some of our neighbors?
I mean, yeah, even some of our neighbors and elsewhere, there are some countries that I've been to in Africa. You don't dare even brush your teeth with the water that comes with a pipe.
Wow.
It could get you sick. So you have to brush your teeth with bottled water. So if you're talking about the quality of our water compared to other countries, we are way above. Although there have been some concerns about the quality of our water, those concerns I believe can be addressed quite adequately with just a constant testing, constant regulating and constant overseeing of the resource. That's what is required. I know a few weeks ago there was some complaints about the quality of the water coming through the tap, and I believe that was addressed. So from time to time you will have those issues, but that is something that can be controlled. I still drink the water from the tap.
Yeah.
Without too much fear in Dominica. I will not do that in many countries. You cannot do that. You know, the first thing you have to ensure that you have is your bottled water. So the fact that we're able to at least consume water directly from our tap, that's really positive and powerful. But we have to remain vigilant. The water authorities need to be constantly testing the water, constantly monitoring it, and then even the protection of the water sources is also very important. You know, the protection of the dams. You know, like where those intakes. Actually, that's one of my bigger concerns that I have about our water safety in Dominica. From what I have observed, it seems to me that the security around the intakes can be strengthened or can be tightened. Because you don't want anybody having some bad idea contaminating the water. All right. So, but that can be done again with increased security and protection. And that is something that can be easily worked in. But
That
I have
concern,
no
that
issue.
concern, yeah, that is a very important point that you bring up there, Doc. That concern has been expressed by a few people in my network regarding boosting security at the intakes, not waiting for when something or if something happens, that we would all regret. So, very, very strong point.
Yes, indeed. I think that's where that has to be done. But again, that is something that can be done on a local level and can be done. What I would really like to see is, given the abundance of the water resource in Dominica, I would like to see consumers get some relief from what is relatively high. People are paying substantial amounts now for water, and I really like to see consumers get some relief from that. But that can be tied in, as I said, very nicely with a policy to exploit the water resource and be able to have some trade-offs that would allow those savings to be passed on to the consumers domestically.
Fantastic. I see some persons trying to call in. You can call if you'd like to. There you go. Caller, you're live.
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes, I've been listening to Dr. Fountain's deliberation on the water in Dominica. I heard him speak about the water that was being shipped from Newtown, because I was involved because I was a welder at Public Works Garage.
Mm.
And at the last point where we shipped the water to the sea, to whatever was bringing the water, I am really not sure what happened when St. Lucia had a hurricane and we decided to give them water. And it was reported that St. Lucia had, well, everybody was complaining of some problem with the water. But I know for a fact the problem with that water was the source. From the source, it did not come from a stainless steel pipe. At that stage, because I was a welder, and that's the last point in Newtown Savannah, by Newtown Savannah, I did the welding there. At that stage, if we had stainless steel pipes all the way, from where it came from, Palm Grove to the boat, if we had stainless steel pipes, I believe we would not have had that problem. And that is what we need to do. Anytime we in Dominica decide to ship water, our pipes should be stainless steel from the beginning to the end, so we would not have any problem with that. And I heard Dr. Mountain speak about water from the Margon River and everywhere. I want to reiterate something I've said a few times on the radio. My father, Kenneth Richards, went to pick up somebody from Aruba in the 60s, just after the airport was open in Melvin Hall. And when he looked at the river behind the wall, and he asked, where is that water going to? When he was told to the sea, he asked all day, all night. That was the question. But what Richie can tell us? I mean, Richie, you know nothing about this, right? I was born in the 60s. You know nothing about this.
No,
I
no,
can tell how many years, decades,
Yeah.
water has been coming from the mountains and going to the
Yeah.
seas. So I am saying, from my layman's point of view, just a welder, I have no formal education. Anytime we have any sort of water shipping overseas, I believe we could have some filtering process at some end. Like if we have it from where we had it in Palm Grove to Newtown,
To Newtown.
we should have a filtering process in the gardens. That's why it's passing in the gardens
Mm.
to go to Newtown. A filtering process. So that their jobs would be added. People who have the degree. Because I met a girl once at DTP who had some degree, went to Cuba in hydrology. And that person, I can't remember her name or nothing about that degree. These are the people who have to be tapped and used to give us what we need to ship water overseas. As Dr. Fountain said, we have so many countries to our north who are asking for water. But
Yeah.
I'll leave it up to them, the experts, to decide how we do it. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Doc, your views on that?
Yes, no, the point he made about the pipes and the quality of the pipes, I think now the technology has moved on. I'm seeing the Wasco Lane pipes is no longer it's some kind of rubber kind of thing that they're using, much more pliable and so on than even what was done. So in terms of the safety and the quality, that has been very much improved. And the other thing, obviously, if you're going to be doing exportation of bulk water, there must be some kind of treatment. I would not just take it directly from the river and export it. There must be some, whether it's through you can use ultraviolet lighting, or if you have to use chlorine or whatever it is, so to treat the water for any harmful bacteria. I mean that would certainly be recommended. But it's something that I believe, or having a good filtration system, as the caller mentioned. But I believe that is something that will be part of the discussion going forward as we develop this. And I would also want to add, while we are focusing on the neighboring countries, there has been a suggestion. I recall having a discussion with one individual who had an interest in water export. He was thinking of it not even for the Caribbean islands. He was thinking of water of exporting all the way to the Middle East, because he thought that at the cost, they had done some calculations, and even that for the cost of shipping, it would still be worth the while to take the water that distance. So, so that is something. It is possible that there is even a broader market than just within the region, but that is something that once this is in place, we'll have to explore.
Doc, it's very interesting. Well, we're getting more calls. I wanted to go into something else, but we're getting more calls, and I see the time is approaching. We'll just take more calls. Callers, you can call in, and we'll take your calls. In relation to the act, let's take this call. Caller, you're live.
Yes, gentlemen, good afternoon. Interesting program. Let me tell you, I am concerned about our rivers here. We're talking about water, but we have to talk about the rivers where we're getting the water from. We need to do a lot more work in maintaining those intakes, those river, the source of the water, where the water is coming from. Like after we can replenish the forest and so on. Because over the years, we have seen, those of us who are old enough, have seen the reduction in the size of our rivers. And if that thing continues, it means that in the next 50 years, we might not have the amount of rivers we have, and some of them will dry up. So we need to pay more attention to maintaining the integrity of our rivers. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good
Yes.
afternoon. Very strong point. We touched on that a little bit earlier.
Yes,
Uh,
we did, and I'm glad the caller reiterated the point. You know that you should never take these things for granted, and there must be active measures in place to protect the rivers. And I know, for example, that I've heard Father Coffee on many occasions
yeah.
talking about the river and lamenting about the difficulties and the problems and the issues surrounding that and maintaining a good river system in Dominica. So that is something obviously that must be given attention, and we should never ever take the resource for granted, but do what is necessary to preserve it for not only for our generation but for future generations.
Good afternoon to Ghana, Paul, Peter Carbon, Steve, Benjamin. Good afternoon to you guys. Caller, you're live.
Good afternoon, Richie.
Good afternoon. Welcome.
I heard a man was speaking. He was saying something about the stillness thing. That like to run the water, we've been establishing each and day.
Mm.
But what I'm saying, try to say, what I saw some years ago, between 2013 or 14, in Solomon Lane, they had a problem with a pipe that was making bubbling water in the road, and then they send. I know the person good. I'm not calling the person name. But the person was from Bakers working with the Wasco. The person I stood there was trying like nosy, trying to watch what was happening. Underneath the ground is still that old thing, still thing, and I understood when I did some reading that you can get mercury from this thing. And what I noticed that was on the graph I was digging, you was connecting the blue piece of thing into it. But that old thing, so I told him that you are connecting that. Look at the rocks. All that is rusty. By the time the people doing that's what they're drinking. He said to me that, oh, he can't stay long because he's going to, I don't know, he's where he's going to. Yeah, he's going to in his garden. So I said, well, yes, we got, but didn't you see the thing? This man never removed that thing, even to come back and check it again. And the old battle up to now, that is why in Solomon Lane, in the last end, also by up, that old metal is still in the ground and people water connected line. So by the time they're there, you are drinking mercury, the dirty water, and sometimes your places the water. It's been filtered where the thing and then burst and water filtered there. I know it was a man that could by father, Mr. Edward. He knew every knot that was in the water places, but a lot of them do not know where they are. And yes, in Terrace Lane, water's flowing almost wanted to go inside the hospital. The water come up, it circle itself and go. So they have to make a time when they have to look and go and check to see where the point of the water is and what is happening there.
Okay,
And
my advice, caller. I need you to call into the Wasco because that's a very serious claim, huh? So
yes,
we need you to call
I am
in
not making
into.
anything. I'm just telling you what I'm seeing.
No, I understand. But the wise thing to do is to call into the Wasco and report that. Not
But yes, we
necessarily.
report and the people never come, until. But I saw
Okay.
one almost wanted to
Okay.
exit,
Well,
but now they patch it out.
that
They fix
shouldn't
it
be
up.
though, because
They fix
if
it up in
it's
Terrace Lane.
yeah,
You
because
can?
if you're saying that the pipe is in such a bad shape, then it really needs to be replaced, and that is
I am not living
something.
there anymore, I'm living at the back of the hospital. So I'm just
Okay.
telling you, in Solomon Lane, close to Christmas and these people there, and there's old office there is pipes that they're in old metal and water is running it.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. Okay, so a call there, maybe for the team, the good team at Doasco, to do some thorough investigation and some pipe replacement done, possibly. Okay, let's take this call. A caller, you're live.
Yeah, good afternoon. Good afternoon to you and to Mr. Fontaine, Dr. Fontaine.
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, the water problem, there's so many issues, but I want to go very far with that issue. And the fact that our government can make secret deals with our resources, water or minerals, how can we be so sure that these resources are not being given away to China, for example, when Mr. Roosevelt Skerrit has not been upfront with us and told us what kind of agreement he signed along with Mr. Austri when he went to China? I believe that the government should be totally transparent to the people. And when these kinds of decisions come up, the people should know about it, and there should be some kind of referendum on it, that the people can have some say, because it's our resources. And once it's given away, it's hard to get it back. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, caller. Of course, there will be a need for that level of transparency. The Prime Minister, he did say that his government is currently engaging some foreign investor to invest into our water sector, and I believe a report will be given. But the people are asking for the a full disclosure, Dr. Fontaine.
Yes, I think that's very important. Water is such a it is in economics we have something that we call the paradox of value. And for example, water that is so valuable to every single person, you cannot really put a price on it, and that's a paradox. But something like a diamond that people only gaze on and does not contribute anything to anybody's life, you can charge and inflate some for it, and it's really paradoxical, and it's a good thing, and in a sense, and we believe that it's a good thing that paradox exists, because imagine if people were allowed to just put any price that they wanted on water, then people would literally die out of thirst, right? Because there would be some people who would not be able to afford it. So but within the confines, or within within what we are able to charge for, I believe that there is a lot of money to be made. But equally importantly, I believe we have to ensure that we have the legislation in place, we have the controls, we have the ability to preserve that resource above everything else.
Fantastic. Let's, of course, give you your closing remarks. But I want to thank you for taking the time and coming on the program this afternoon. We're going to make way for our next guest, but Doc, straight on point as usual. And of course, I'm getting a notification here regarding the process of infusing water with exotic fruits. I'm being told that this was actually planned by one of the previous administrations, specifically the Edison James administration, to do that with a German company, but that did not fully materialize due to the time in office. Is this something that piques your interest?
Oh yeah! In fact, any bottled water operation in Dominica, I believe, should also include that infusion. Basically, what you do is that you just the term is you infuse it. It's still water, but you have a taste of passion fruit, or taste of lemon, of orange, of grapefruit. You can do that. So probably some mint and so on. I believe that is something. In fact, I've spoken about that or before in our town hall. When we talk about water, we talk about not only having the bottled water. When we talk about bottled water, not just the pure water, but definitely our exotic fruit infused water would be something that could also be of a high premium value.
Doc, again, I appreciate you. More calls are coming in. I suspect that may be the case for the duration of the program. But Dr. Fontaine, we appreciate you again for taking the time. We're gonna take a break and come into our next guest. Do stay tuned, even if you go offline via StreamYard. You can stay tuned for the rest of the program if
absolutely
you have the time.
Yes, I will. Thank you. I'll be looking forward to hearing your next guest, of course. Thank you.
Yes, we'll be in touch. We'll be in touch.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that was a highly acclaimed economist, well-respected internationally, Dominican-born Dr. Thompson Fontaine. We're going to take a short break. We will be introducing our next guest. This guy is no stranger to the island. He is considered one of the successful businessmen in our country. Let's say a good afternoon to David Joseph, Peter Carbon. Good afternoon to you, Marina Charles, Janelle Alfred. It's been a while. Good afternoon to you, and I hope that all is well. Let's take a break. We'll be back after this. We are in the Atlantic hurricane season. Stay tuned to radio and television stations for regular bulletins. Rely only on official bulletins. Do not check these over the telephone. A message from Q95 FM radio. We are in the Atlantic hurricane season. Stay tuned to radio and television stations for regular bulletins. Rely only on official bulletins. Do not check these over the telephone. A message from Q95 FM radio.
Need one trusted place to stock up for your home, shop, or business? Fine Foods Inc. Distribution has got you covered. From dry goods and frozen foods to your favorite drinks, alcoholic and non-alcoholic, plus all the household must-have. We've got it all under one roof. We're right here in Jimmy Dominica, and yet we deliver. Whether you're running a supermarket, a corner shop, a bar, or just like your pantry full and happy, Fine Foods Inc. brings you the best brands you know and love. Great prices, top-tier service, trusted products. At 255-6810 or 316-0164, or drop by our Jimmy location to check out what's in store. Fine Foods Inc.
Fine Foods Inc. The biggest distributor for the biggest brands.
Store. Dial it now. 612-1253. That's Mega. You can rely on Mega for some real deals on name brand clothing and electronics. High quality, low price. We are a wholesale and retail store located in Calabishi, right on the main road. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram as Mega Deals Dominica. Like our page. Check out our stuff. Call us. Visit us. Would appreciate that. Come try it on. Love it. Buy it. Mega Deals. Your one and only online and brick and mortar store. Mega Deals is also on wheels. We make it convenient for your shopping. We deliver straight to your door. Email us at info@megadealsda.com. Rely on Mega Deals for some real deals.
And we're back. You are tuned in to Q95 FM, 95.1 FM. This is Talk on the Block. We just spoke to economist, UWP political leader, Dr. Thompson Fontaine, on developing a promising water sector industry here in the Nature Isle. On the line with me is chair of the Caribbean Consultative Council. He is the president of the Dominica Manufacturers Association. He is the immediate past president of the Caribbean Manufacturers Association. And he is the managing director and owner of Benjo's CMOS. Ladies and gentlemen, John Robin. Robin, welcome. Good afternoon to you.
Yeah, hello, good afternoon. So how are you? Are you able to hear me?
I'm doing well. Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm.
Okay, fantastic. Let me just thank you for coming on to the program. I hope I didn't interrupt your lunch, but of course, this is an important discussion, and we're so happy to have you at this time. We're talking developing a water sector here, a paradise here in the Caribbean basin. Based on your experience, Mr. Robin, building a successful agro processing brand such as Benjo's CMOS, what are the key components of a sustainable and scalable business model for exporting water from our country?
Okay, first of all, I want to thank Mr. Farah, thank you for inviting to this. I'm indeed elated to be able to share with you some of the experiences we have already. I'm getting a feedback.
Yeah, I'm hearing you a little muffled there. Would you mind switching positions, maybe?
Yes. Okay.
Oh, that's better. Yeah.
Okay. Whatever. We have tremendous experience in the whole of agriculture, and actually we are exporting water. All right. I was at a training program once, and someone indicated that we should find creative, innovative to export water. As a result, we embarked on those seeds. And Benjo is not for exporting water. Because
Okay, sorry, I have to cut you off again. We're still getting that muffled. It's like it's going in and out. Maybe try holding the phone a little closer. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, that's better. Yeah, that's better. That's it.
Okay. So basically, what we have done is to take water and add other products, mainly seeds. And then what we have been able to do is have been able to develop a more successful agro process concerning after 42. And not only have we to develop it, but we have to sustain it. And I can say now we export 90% of what to about 25 countries, including the United States, and say 90% of territories of the French West, the Dutch West territories, the British Indian territory, and continue to explore ways of ensuring that we start with the entire insular Caribbean region before our product. So that's enough of talking. And we have done tremendous in going forward here. Now, in terms of the key component that is required, scalable export from Dominica, I think for what we have research. All right, research is not just go and get it done.
John, sorry to interrupt you again. The same thing is happening, so I'm gonna have to call you straight.
Yes, call me.
Yeah, I'm gonna call you straight. Okay, so we'll be back soon, guys, with John Robin. Some technical difficulties. Sometimes these things happen. But we'll be back with John Robin very soon. Okay. So, some technical difficulties. It appears on the network. But we're back. Okay, we're back. A lot of messages coming through. We're back. Good afternoon to Miss LeBlanc. Good afternoon to you. All right, so reintroducing Mr. Robin. Again, Mr. Robin is chair of the Caribbean Consultative Council. He is the president of the DMA, Dominica Manufacturers Association. He is the immediate past president of the Caribbean Manufacturers Association. He's also the managing director and owner of the delicious Benjo's Seamoss. John, welcome. Hello, John. Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Welcome, welcome.
That's correct.
Well, we're hearing you clearer now.
Okay, can I call you?
You can call me back on 449-3096. Okay. All right. Some tech issues there. Yes, Dominica, we're back. Mr. Robin, can you hear me?
Hello?
Yes, we're hearing you, and welcome.
Okay, great.
Okay, so as it relates to our first question, I was saying, based on your experience building a successful agro processing brand, namely the Benjo CMOS brand, what are the key components of a sustainable and scalable business model for exporting water from Dominica?
Okay, I think the key component, we first of all have to start off with research. Any endeavor we are going to embark on, we should ensure that the basis is sound. And proper research would allow us to do that. So, for example, we know that water, for example, it's a highly competitive commodity. And everywhere produce water. Even the islands that do not have, let's say, like fresh water, they are able to distill seawater, or they able to extract water from underneath. So you have to, first of all, understand the market also, and you have to be able to find out basically that the market you're exporting to, you have to find out what are the requirements. It's not about what you want to sell. Marketing research has the idea basically of finding out what your customers need, of finding out what the market needs, and you being able to develop, let's say, a water product to respond to the demand of that market. And not only to respond to the demand of that market, but also to surpass the expectation of that market. So also, for example, in Dominica's case, it is said that everything we do in the Caribbean is like we are producing samples. So the scale of your operation have to be of such that you can achieve economy of scale. You can produce a large quantity, and then you can be able to attract lower cost. And you will find also that, for example, in Dominica or in the Caribbean also, a lot of the manufacturers of water, they have to import the pellets, and they have to import the cartons, they have to import almost all the raw material, packaging material, etc., right? Or also the ingredients, the inputs you have to put, they have to be imported. So you find that the cost for us is very exorbitant, as opposed to, for example, someone in Florida, in the United States, where you are in the United States, and you have a big market, and they are producing most of these things right, within their vicinity. They don't have to cross, they don't have to cross water, and sometimes the train that brings it in a short time. So everything is right there, but almost everything we have to use is imported. All right. In the case of water, it's mainly the ingredients you add and then the packaging. The packaging also constitutes at least 70% of our cost. right? And added to that, the cost, transportation, logistics, and so on. And then another key component would be storage space in the case of Dominica. We find that we need to ensure that if we are going to do anything, we must have adequate storage space. Now we find that we have the industrial estate, and for years now we find that there are almost no manufacturers at the industrial estate, and it was meant for manufacturing. And these are the things we need to address. If we are going to do a project like this, what is the best location? All right. Now also, location is very important. If you are setting up a facility like that, you must be located in close proximity to the labor force, to the port, to the market, you know. And I think the best place is, even let's say if you have a project like this, is within the industrial estate. It would be more ideal. Why? If you move further afield, what you're going to find is the cost is going to increase. As you realize, transporting using containers and so in the vicinity of, let's say, in Dominica is much more expensive than most of the other islands. Also, we also have to ensure that the labor cost is also affordable, it's competitive, but also you have to ensure that the labor for the people are trainable and the work culture is conducive to what you need. A key component will also be tax incentives. What are the tax incentives that government would have to?
Yes, you were saying the tax incentives?
Yeah. So what are the tax incentives that government? Are you there? You hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Yeah. Okay. The tax incentive that government is basically allowing. For example, we have fiscal incentive, right? And that is once you submit a project to the government and it meets government approval, then you can get a state waiver on all your packaging material, raw material, ingredients, and so on. So you can get it for a certain amount of time. And even after the time has expired, it can be extended. So these things are also there. Right. Now also, but there are some other incentive packages that are available that cover, for example, the last set of incentive package that was approved. It basically covers labor, equipment, and basically machinery. All right. And but it does not cover raw materials. It does not cover ingredients. Right. So these are the things we have to. But in the case of water, we also have to look at the supply chain logistics. One of the problems we have is that we have lots of irregularity in some of the ships. Tropical shipping arrives fairly frequently, but there are times when, because if the sea is choppy, they cannot dock. This presents a certain problem. All right, and so I think there's the effort to develop and modernize our port facility. This is really affecting productivity, and once we can overcome those hurdles, we would be in a better position.
But
finally, I want to say that also cost of financing, all right, would be a key component for us to be able to scale up to do a better water facility. And then we have to benchmark the cost of financing in Dominica to what is obtainable, for example, in the other OECD jurisdiction or the wider Caribbean or the international jurisdiction. We think that we need to have finances, not only finances that are available, but the amount of finance that are available for such undertaking. You may say, well, you have 25 million. But if you have two good projects, that might be 50 million. And what provision do we make for major projects that really have the capacity to be able to impact our economy? And as it is right now, the cost of the contribution of manufacturing to GDP is 2%. And in many of the other islands, it's an average of about 10%. So we need to really embark on this. It's a very critical initiative. It's very necessary. And I think it is really worth looking into. And I welcome any initiative to export water from Dominica globally. And I think we should have done it already. what we need to do is to come together and see how we can make this happen as quick as possible.
Fantastic, Mr. Robert. You touched on some major points. This was leading into my second question as it relates to some of the regulatory and logistical challenges that entrepreneurs would need to overcome to even prepare Dominica's water sources for international export. You really touched into that, but mentioning some of them, how well do you think this can be resolved to actually position Dominican entrepreneurs to tap into the water sector in that way for export? How well do you think we are able to actually get this done within reasonable time from a governance standpoint?
Well, I think one of the things that needs to happen is that the government needs to, or we in the private sector, we need to talk more with the government. And the government needs to communicate more with us, because I think there is a disconnect between the private sector and government as far as maybe moving Dominica's economy to the next level is concerned. And I say that because, you know, a lot of the ideas to transform our economy and to move our manufacturing sector from the 2% to the 20%, well, as the president of the Dominican Manufacturers Association, we have just completed our constitution and also set up a strategic plan. And our strategic plan, one of the major objectives of our strategy is to increase the manufacturing contribution from its current 2% to 20%. So how we're going to do it is to engage with government so that government can see where we are and how we can do it together. Because the private sector cannot move ahead without the government. And I think it's not that the government does not want to work with the private sector. I think there is just a communication gap, and we need to do that. That's number one. Number two, we need to put in place the policy framework to engender what we are trying to get. Because we are trying to move from where we are to get to our next level. We need to ensure that the policies that are necessary to support that new move is firmly engraved within the system. Right. For example, I just came from attending the Barbados Expo. They have an international expo, Trade and Innovation Expo. I attended that in June this year. Following which, I also went to Trinidad, and I attended the PIC, which is by the Trinidad and Tobago Manufacturers Association Expo, and it was overwhelming, you know. And the organization was outstanding. The participation, the involvement, the promotion was very significant. And so what we need to also do is to ensure that we plan with government. So we plan with government, and also the various infrastructure we need to support such development is made available. Additionally, the financing to support such undertaking, you know, is secured, is set aside, you know. And also, we need to ensure that we are promoted at every level. You know, that we on all the various media, we are at all international trade, regional.
Yeah, I was coming to that.
Consistently.
That was my next question as it relates to marketing, John, branding and marketing. From that standpoint, how can Dominica's image be used as leverage, right, to position its water as a premium product?
Well, I think already we have done a lot of work in promoting Dominica as a nature island of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
The problem is we are not present. We go to the street show, and for example, in Barbados, I was there. I paid my way to Barbados, and I took 20 other Dominicans products to Barbados with me. No organization, no administration gave me $1. It cost me about $7,000. I did it on my own. And I did it not only because I just wanted to do it. I did it because, all of us carry a burden to take Dominica somewhere.
Yeah.
And even if, you're not getting, even if the certain folks are not there as yet, you take the initiative and you carry the ball by the horse. So I was there, and it was amazing. People love everything Dominica. Right. And in Trinidad, also while in Trinidad, I went to Trinidad, but this time I did not have a booth. I had a booth in Barbados, but I didn't have a booth. And there were no Dominicans. Dominica was not present at the expo in Trinidad. While there were countries from, there were participants, the countries such as you have St. Croix and Thomas, you had Barbados, you have most of the members of CARICOM were there. And then you have Indonesia was present. We have Delhi, and you have from Canada. But Dominica was not present. And we are saying that come next year, Dominica has to be at the Barbados Expo. We have to be in Guyana. We have to be in Jamaica. We have to be in Trinidad.
Yeah.
And we have to have a roster of all the international trade shows of significance. And so we need to decide which ones we are going to go to. But we should be present, and we should be promoting our product. We should be, when you go on these things, these are opportunities to form strategic alliances.
Yeah.
So get markets for your product, to get maybe packaging, raw material, ingredients. And I will tell you that, for example, the packaging you see on the Benjo CMOS box right now, our packaging is above CARICOM standard. But we got that while the OECS facilitated our participation at a trade show in the Dominican Republic. And it was during that trade show I really speak to a packaging company that developed that package for us. So I'm saying, going to a trade show is not just about selling your product. It's about getting opportunity for manufacturers across the board in Dominica. It's about giving manufacturers the exposure so they can know what is obtainable out there, what people are doing. They can get new ideas so they can come back home and we can start to work and start to plan. But we need to get out there to see what's happening. We need to be there, and we need to be there consistently, not just go one year and then find that maybe 3-4 years we're not present. We have to have a plan to be present.
Okay, so very, 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 very important statement there as it relates to marketing, a presence, building a presence. I suspect more needs to be done on that. You mentioned partnerships. That's a crucial word whenever you talk business. So what strategic partnerships, whether local, regional, or international, would you consider essential for breaking into and sustaining a foothold in competitive water export markets?
Yes, I try to understand your question. I think partnering is critical because as it relates to exporting Dominica water globally, the type of financing that is required, maybe we do not have it. We cannot get it from our government or banks. They may not be willing. But if you are able to forge, strong partnership with established entities, so to speak, they can come in as equity partners, and they can invest with you. Because what you are actually promoting is a brand, and the brand is the nature island of Dominica, and as some folks say, the nature island of the world. And I think people want Dominican products, people want Dominican water, but what we have to do, we have to be able to brand it properly in terms of even the label design, in terms of we have to be able to maintain it on the market, and it has to be attractive, but it also has to be cost effective. It has to be competitive. And not only is it competitive, but also what is the value that we bring into our Dominican water? It's a nature island. But how do we sell the concept of nature island? That nature is superior. Dominica has it is pristine. It is unpolluted. They say when people are able to identify with what you're doing, they will buy into it. They will support you. And we have done a lot of work over the years in selling the nature island concept. So we don't have nothing to sell. What are we selling? We are in China and the Caribbean. But what are we selling? And you can get the investors to come in, and the investors can help you to make that happen. They have a lot of experience, and also, they have a lot of finances. They have a lot of leverage. So I think partnering is very important in this endeavor.
Fantastic. Given your success, Robin, with value-added products like CMOS, what advice would you offer to aspiring water sector entrepreneurs about creating a unique value proposition which would attract global buyers and or distributors?
All right. I would say, first of all, we should not, I remember one of our bankers used to say, we should not think of owning our own lake as Dominican business persons. We should think instead of owning 10% of the sea. Because just imagine, everybody wants to have their own operation.
Yeah.
And they basically want to have 100% ownership, of the company. But sometimes, if you have 10% of the sea, can you just imagine you have 10% of the sea? You will struggle for your whole life with your own lake and you'll not get anywhere. But if you 1% of the sea, of a big operation, can take it so far that you might have to hustle. I think also we need to engender a culture of appreciating education. And the more educated you are, is the more aware you are going to become. So if you allow yourself to engage in continuous educational endeavors, it will allow you to, particularly in your field, it will allow you to be able to get a better idea of where to go. And even when you have challenges, you will know where to turn.
Fantastic. Robin, thank you so much for this insight into possibly establishing a water sector in Dominica, what it would take, some of the regulatory and logistical challenges we would need to overcome to reach there, the need for a stronger presence regionally at these expos to market our water-based products, well, other products in particular, which are local as well. But as we're talking water this afternoon, water products. So again, thank you so much. We're going to take some calls. Of course, we would have to end the call with you to do that, as we have you on the phone right now. But before we end the call, your closing remarks at this time, Robin.
Okay, well, I just want you to, again, to thank you for inviting me. And also, I think manufacturing offers, I would say, manufacturing presents a tremendous potential for Dominican economic transformation. In light of the challenges we have with most of the other economic movement, primarily the CBI program, if it were to be interrupted, I think what we need to do immediately, let us use some of the resources from the CBI program and channel it into manufacturing. Because someday, and I've said it before, the CBI program is going to leave us. And we would have said we should have. As such, I'm saying, let us channel at least 5%
True.
of the resources over the next 5 years
Yep.
into manufacturing. And we have the potential, because of what we have location in the Caribbean,
Yep.
to be one of the most significant, manufacturing islands within CARICOM. So I want to challenge the authorities to put the necessary policy framework in place to allow for that to happen.
Fantastic. We saw that even recently in May of 2025, Robin, Guyana is now fully self-sufficient as far as it relates to food security, manufacturing a lot of its needed products on the island for domestic use and for export. I think Dominica needs to head in that direction. And again, thank you so much. I suspect we'll be talking again soon. I hope very soon. But thank you, thank you, thank you. I wish you a blessed afternoon.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Dominica, that was John Robin. We're going to take your calls now. And wow, very, very insightful. I always keep saying Dominicans are very capable people, very intelligent. And they need to be engaged. Caller, your live.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon and welcome.
Well, yes, Richie, how are you doing?
Doing good, doing good.
All right. I've been listening to Mr. Pharaoh Robin, I think it was.
Yes, John Robin.
And I do not know, I'm not sure at all, because with the world of internet and everything, he's talking about Indonesia and may have gone to Indonesia to some export, some of the other. And none of the government, our government of Dominica, our Labour Party people were there. I mean, this shows that we do not have any forward thinking or anything thinking to manufacture or do anything for Dominica. Listening to Dr. Fontaine and Mr. Robin, all I can see is a forward thinking and things happening for Dominica. But Indonesia, that is just 11,966 miles from Barbados. Yes, and Barbados had that expo. And why would Indonesia be there? I'm trying to wonder, why would Indonesia be there? And not Dominica, who is just a couple hundred kilometers away from there. It is really sad for Dominica to have had this Labour Party there for so long and not take part in such a simple thing as an expo in Barbados. And Indonesia, 11,960 kilometers be down there. Good afternoon, Richie.
Good afternoon. Caller, welcome.
Good afternoon, Richie.
Good afternoon, welcome.
Yes, I just heard you speak to Mr. Thompson Fontaine and John Robin.
Yes.
Which is in the local manufacturing. I think he was my former president of Buy Dominica Local Products, the other association, after Sever Mackenzie resigned. Richie, as a young man, I know you know a little bit of history. You come from St. Joe, Layo. Between St. Joe and Layo, you had a few local business people like Bevin and Farrar family. They had boats, they had planes. In Marigot, you had Ian Pringle had planes. You had Frankie James had a plane. I think somebody else had a plane. Paul Edwards. And I think you had a man from Wesley, they call Conrad, had a plane, a small plane too. What happened to us that we lose all those industries? And I used to trade with some of them. What happened to those industries? Just in Barbados, that we were trading heavily, even in places like Grand Four. And that is why I want to come to Mr. Fontaine. Ian Pringle would move out a lot of dashing in Grand Four. Every week, these people would get money. This was just a private individual. And how comes we fall back and we have this CCME, CARICOM? Why we not cannot trade properly? I'm talking about just in the late 80s then, we were trading heavily with Barbados, selling a lot of grapefruit, coconuts. The people from St. Vincent would come down here and buy it. I think they had a problem in St. Vincent at the time. Black Cedar took us, so they had to come down here. What causing those problems, those barriers, and why we importing so much Richie? We importing something like what they said, $57 million between 2017 to now, Richie? Are you there with me now, sir?
Yeah, I'm there with you. I'm there with you.
How are we going to sustain? I mean, you're a young man in a Richie. Maybe you don't even have a family. How a little island like Dominica exporting so many currency? And I'm not talking about vehicles and material things. You heard a local businessman told you the other day. I think Peter tell you we shopping millions on Amazon, Richie. Something has to be done by the opposition and the government if they're so interested in our people. And you cannot wait until you get in government, because I remember in the 70s, Afi Matters Bernard Wiltshire, Rosie Douglas, they never wait to get into government. They organize a lot of movements with the young people. For instance, empowering them by giving them land. I think Afi was in charge of the Cassibus estate. He helped them to divide the land to give it to the Cassibus people. No foreigners didn't get those land. There was Cassibus, just like West Marigot. Land goes there was for Wesley and Marigot people. They give those land. They're both. But Afi can give a little guidance. Afi and thing went up in Europe and buy a boat for farmers. He formed a cooperative. One of the problems with us, Richie, we need to come together. Even the people in opposition, get the people to be more in power, form cooperative. If the government was interested, they would set up money so that the small cooperative people, they could go and buy a boat just in Guadeloupe. They have those ferries, you see that running there. When they reach a certain time, they sell them. Wadix was in charge of one. It used to bring 4 transport and something like 400 people between Martinique, Guadeloupe, Wadix. The ambassador, he was in charge of that boat. You can buy the boat. And this is one of the things I say. When you don't have to wait on government, even the opposition, they can organize the people more in power, even in the countryside. You can always say
it's definitely something to explore. Yes, there can be initiatives taken by the private sector and by interest groups like the opposition parties. But on a national scale, you'd have to agree more needs to be done.
Of course, man, Richie, this is no joke. And what I'm saying, you have $35 million there in the bank for small business people. Richie, I wish you could go on the ground in Dominica. You don't have the time. But I wish Mr. G could hire a young media man and go all over Dominica and ask the people that doing small business how much money they get from that bank. And then there's people, families that have millions of dollars, and these people still go there. Their children go there and get $600,000 and $700,000 in, and the business they're doing is not no small business. So if the government was interested, look at the independent that coming up here. Look at the summer that passed here. These French people coming here, and sometimes they don't even come back with a bottle of ketchup in. Because you never go to the price debate front. So you heard Mr. Baptist right now debate front there, Mr. Mackenzie. These are city planners, these are architects, these are people that qualify. You know, Mr. Baptist, all these things, that whole day from going down to the market is it's a tourist industry. Where Dexter is there, you know the man and line that for you. A local supermarket downstairs and like a local wood shop upstairs selling Dominican craft and so upstairs. Dexter, you can imagine that, and you're going down to the market where you have all kind of local entertainment by our own people, the indigenous people, the Rasta. That's what you're seeing in the other Caribbean island, Guyana. I don't want to take much of your program.
Yeah, the cruise village concept. Yeah. I understand where you're coming from. Caller. Just for context, was just verifying some statistics as it relates to Dominica's food import bill. From 2021 to 2022, I can confirm that our food import bill was approximately $198 million. In 2022, specifically for 2023, it was $151,552,025.32. Based on our population, that is extremely high. Good afternoon, caller. You're live.
Yes, Richie, I think I made a slight mistake about Mr. Robin going to Indonesia. I think it was
Trinidad. It was Trinidad, and there was Indonesian representatives in Trinidad.
Right, coming to the Caribbean, you know.
Yeah.
Can you see how far these people are thinking?
Yeah.
11,966 miles or kilometers. They are thinking that they must reach there to try and get to sell their product. Hmm? And how much is the Labour Party thinking? Where are they thinking of going? How far? Portsmouth, Roseau, Portsmouth, the Marriott, and there are not any futuristic thinking in the Labour Party. So this is why we in Dominica need to have a different set of people thinking what we should go to, where we should go in Dominica. So Barbados or Trinidad, 11,960 miles. They came to sell what they have to sell. They didn't think that it wouldn't sell. They did come. You understand me? So that's where we need to go in this country, Dominica. Good evening. Good afternoon.
Thank you for your contribution. So from all accounts, even with some people I've spoken to off air in the field of manufacturing and agro processing in Dominica and outside of Dominica, they're telling me that in Dominica's case, it is a very, very wise idea to tap into Dominica's water sector and properly utilize and explore the agro processing and economic benefits available. So should Dominicans invest and develop what you would call a water industry in Dominica? The answer is yes. All right, so at this time, I'd just like to say Talk on the Block was sponsored by the great folks at ESA Trading Limited and at New India Assurance. It was my pleasure hosting today's Talk on the Block. Good afternoon again to Matthias Peltier. Wishing you a blessed afternoon, brother. Blessings to you and your family. Blessings to the staff of our sponsors, ESA Trading Limited, New India Assurance. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Stay tuned to the big station, Q95 FM.
The government of Dominica has declared a national firearm amnesty. If you have an illegal gun, now is the time to turn it in. No charges, no questions. If you know someone with an unlicensed firearm, say something without saying your name. Crime Stoppers Dominica keeps you completely anonymous. Call 1-800-8477. That's 1-800-TIPS. Your voice stays hidden, but your action could save lives. Let's protect our island together. A message from Crime Stoppers Dominica and this station.
Carifesta is the whole region looking good. Whole road is we runway. It's in the way we walk. It's the way we talk. It's the way we move. We ready for the world. And when we step out and pose just so, it's pure style and fashion. Look away! Come for Carifesta 15 in Barbados. Book your stay now at visitbarbados.org/Carifesta.
Dominicans, enjoy your property, protect your property. You homeowner and businessman, protect your property, enjoy your property. Can't wait for the hurricane, can't wait till you flood again, can't wait till you fly out and all your business coming out. Remember, no insurance company will insure your property when a storm is approaching. Get ahead of the hurricane season and insure with a company who gives you the assurance of payment for your valid claim. Come speak with us today at the New India Assurance Company Limited, upstairs AC Shillingford and Company Limited, 24 King George Street, Roseau. Bring along an up-to-date valuation from a qualified engineer and